Hi, welcome back to the Adequate Rejects. My name is James, and today I'm going to be talking to you about my top 10 favorite musicians and or bands. I would go ahead and do all of the same thing the other guys did with their favorite movies and stuff, but I haven't seen as many, so I don't know what my favorites are yet. First, I'm going to be doing some honorable mentions. My first honorable mention is going to be Death Cab for Cutie. Not quite as well known as a lot of the other bands I have on this list. I'm not saying I'm a hipster like some other people I know, but this is one of my favorite bands and they have some amazing songs out. Go check them out if you've never heard them. My second honorable mention is going to be Blink-182, which is one of the first bands that I ever really listened to. They're one of the first bands that I ever owned a CD of, and one of the first bands that I ever really understood. And then for my last honorable mention, which really is one of the greatest bands of all time, but not necessarily my favorite, is going to be Pink Floyd. I've listened to The Wall probably 10 times now, and it's one of my favorite albums. I just need to listen to some more of their stuff to make sure I really enjoy them as much as I enjoy the others. Number 10 of my all-time favorite bands is going to be Tower of Power. Tower of Power is probably the greatest, if not one of the greatest, jazz and funk bands that has ever existed. They started off in the early 60s, 70s as one of the first interracial bands out of Oakland, and their music has been some of my favorite jazz and funk music that I have ever heard. They're just amazing. If you've never heard them, definitely check them out. My favorite recording of theirs is Sparkling in the Sand live at the Sands. It has one of the best solos I've ever heard. So check it out. Number 9, I'm gonna have to give to Eminem, who is my favorite rapper. I'm not a huge rap fan. If I had to pick, it'd be between him and the Beastie Boys. But I give the edge to Eminem just because of the amount of stuff I've actually listened to of his. You can go all the way back to, I can't even name the albums, but even his movie 8 Mile, all the music in it is some of my favorite music. Not just rap music, some of my favorite music I listen to. And I even enjoyed Relapse, as weird as it was. Number 8, I'm going to have to give to Muse, which is my favorite live concert that I have ever been to. I got the pleasure of seeing them at Austin City Limits Music Festival 2 years ago, and they blew my mind. They had just come out with Panic Station and all that new music, Madness. It was some of the craziest stuff I've ever seen in a concert, and some of the best I have ever seen. I just love everything I've ever heard from them, and I can't wait for the new album coming out this year. Number 7, I have to give to Daft Punk. Yes, Random Access Memories was an amazing album. Get Lucky was a great song, but it wasn't my favorite. It wasn't even my favorite from that album. I would have to give that to Lose Yourself to Dance. It's just more fun to me. But my favorite album of theirs is Discovery, and just every song on Discovery is some of the greatest techno, electronic, whatever you want to call it, music that I've listened to. Number 6, I have to go ahead and give to my favorite jazz musician of all time, which is Miles Davis. Miles Davis has made some of the weirdest music I have ever listened to in Bitches Brew, but he has also made some of the most iconic jazz songs that you will ever hear. My favorite one, other than Kind of Blue, which is the greatest jazz album, in my opinion, that has ever come out, Roundabout Midnight is another one that is one of his best, and not as well known, mainly because of Kind of Blue and Bitches Brew. Number 5, I have to give to Of Monsters and Men. Although they only have one album out as of right now, they are still my favorite band that has come out in recent memory. Um, I got the pleasure of seeing them live 3 years ago when they were down in Austin, and it was the most fun I've ever seen a band have playing a show. I actually got up to be able to see them on the third or fourth row at Stubbs, and everybody in the band just looked like they were enjoying themselves more than I've ever seen anybody else do. And I have listened to their album more times than I can count. Number 4, I have to go ahead and give to Arcade Fire. Arcade Fire has some of the, I'm not really sure how to put it, but their albums are so different in the way they make them. Their first album, The Funeral, is one of the best first albums I've ever heard, other than, of course, Monsters and Men's first album. But Arcade Fire, The Suburbs, is probably in my top 3 albums that I've ever listened to, and they actually made a short film called Tales from the Suburbs, I think, or Stories from the Suburbs, that goes along with that whole album, and it is one of the most entertaining and mind-twisting things I've ever watched. It's also very deep, and just everything I've heard from Arcade Fire is amazing, and that's one of the few bands that I haven't seen on this list that I really, really need to see. Okay, number 3, I have to give to the Foo Fighters. Foo Fighters is one of those bands that has been around since before I really started listening to music, and since I've been listening to them, I haven't heard a song of theirs that I haven't liked. Just everything I've listened to the Foo Fighters, everything they've done, everything they've put out in the past 15 years, I have listened to. I waited for Sonic Highways. I listened to the new song when they were releasing them every Friday when they released them, and it's just, they have never put out any bad music to me, and they have a special place in my heart, and I love them. Number 2 for me is Avenged Sevenfold. What can I say? Avenged Sevenfold is one of those bands who they have this set style that they like to play, which is definitely that hardcore, almost screamo metal. They do have some screamo, but there are times where some of their slower stuff, they've gone and done almost country music and made it sound better than I have ever heard personally any country music. Avenged Sevenfold, their name of that album, Avenged Sevenfold, is probably my favorite of theirs. I've listened to it 3 or 4 times. I've listened to Nightmare probably 4 times. I have Hail to the King. Fortunately, that's the only one I have, but I've listened to it 6 or 7 times because they're one of those bands that I could just keep listening to on and on forever. My number 1 favorite band of all time has to be the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Everything I have heard of the Red Hot Chili Peppers has been amazing. I recently just got an album, Mother's Milk, of theirs that I had never heard of, and I can't stop listening to it. Everything they do is just fun. They did a cover of Stevie Wonder's Higher Ground on there, and it was not the original, but it was amazing. And their Stadium Arcadium album, as great as the critics saw it, it's my favorite album that has ever been made by anybody, ever. Californication is amazing. By the Way is just as good, and I don't think I could pick another band that would be my number 1. So, thanks for watching. Make sure to like, favorite, subscribe.